Right, hello. Let's do a video on different Trachycarpus species. So, we'll start with this one. This is my most recent, I won't say purchase, because as a rehome, I dug it up from someone's garden and replanted it late autumn last year. So this one, obviously I don't know 100% what it is. The problem with a lot of these Trachycarpus, you do get hybrids, you do get a lot of variation in, even Fortunei can vary a heck of a lot. So this is a bit of a question mark, this one. It does seem to have fairly stiff leaves with a little bit of silver underneath, but I wouldn't like to say this, wouldn't like to put a name to it. So that'll just be known as unknown. So let's start off with the most common, and one I do know what it is, and this is the biggest, oldest one I've got in my garden. So this would be Trachycarpus fortunei. This is typically what you'd see, with the leaflets half bent over in the wind, looking a bit scruffy. Fairly, or quite heavily furry trunk. That one has not flowered for me yet. I'm hoping this year might be the year. It's a fairly decent size now. But yeah, so that is a Trachycarpus fortunei. We've got a smaller fortunei here, which, like I say, they do vary a lot. This one does seem a little bit stiffer. You can see one of the newer fronds have got some bent petioles on it, but that is your classic fortunei. And luckily, side by side here, we've got a Wagneranus, or Waggy, and there's no way you could confuse the two. Both have the furry trunk, but obviously the leaves, there's no comparison. This is the dwarf version, if you like, the small, really stiff leaves, really good for windy exposed positions, just as hardy, I believe anyway. But yeah, there's absolutely no way you can confuse the two. As you can see side by side here, I wouldn't say they're similar sized plants, but obviously the fronds on the Waggy do get bigger as they get older, but there's a definite, when they're side by side, you can definitely see no argument there. Really stupid stiff, that one. Right, so these are two of the more common ones you'll see. I'm not going to show you every Trachycarpus I've got, because I've got quite a few small ones. Example here in the ground. So let's have a look at a different one. This is going to be quite a small specimen, but in amongst the pots of Trachycarpus I've got, so this one here is a Princeps, and again side by side, fortunei, back of the leaf, exactly the same colour as the front of the leaf. Princeps, obviously you've got that kind of white tomentum or slight hairs coming off the leaf, but when you turn that leaf over, I don't know if this is showing up, it's focusing on something else, it is white. I'm doing this through Perspex, so it's not ideal, but yeah, this is in the ground. It's been in the ground for since last year, but that is picking up. Really white back and quite a stiff leaf, like similar to the waggy. So again, I have got a few waggies about. There's a small one at the back there. And we've got one here. This is probably the biggest one. As you can see, as they start to mature, well, this is nowhere near mature obviously, but as they get bigger, the leaves get bigger. But again, leaf to petiole ratio, they just seem a lot thicker, wider I mean. Obviously they're thicker, they're a lot stronger, but yeah, so another characteristic there, you do get a little bit of there is a slight different green on the back to the front. So nothing technical or scientific here, it's just literally I see it, say it as I see it. And one you don't really hear much about, which not many people seem to, don't know if many people grow it or just forget about it or whatnot, but we've got the, I'll get my shadow out of the way, we've got a Nova, Trachycarpus Nova, which I quite like. They're allegedly the fastest growing Trachycarpus, and I did buy this as a fairly small plant 2 years ago, and that has put on some decent growth. And in a way, I think it's quite a little bit more tropical looking than your standard Fortunae. And you do get the droopy leaf petioles, but because they're more cupped, no, it gives a different look. So that is the only Trachycarpus Nova I've got. Obviously I'm not going to go into crosses because it's not a true species. I have got Fortunae waggy crosses, but obviously you've got other species. That's just really the 4 species I'm growing. You have got others. I wouldn't mind getting hold of a Latticectus because they look quite tropical, looking sort of slightly wider petioles, but I really have no interest in growing every single species, just for the fact they all look quite similar and there's so much variation in each specific species that you'd never tell them apart unless you had the tag. So like I say, no interest in growing 10 different species that all look the same. There's just no point for me. I'm not saying that, you know, some collectors might want every single species, that's fair enough, but I do see a lot of videos where people have brought alleged tequilas, for instance, and I don't know, you're just never 100% confident because they're quite rare to get a true tequila. And they just don't look, if you struggle telling the difference, then what's the point? Just get a cheap Fortunae. That's totally my opinion. Obviously a lot of people will differ from that. So yeah, that is my take on it anyway. That, you know, I'm not a fan of, you know, obviously when you're building a garden from scratch, mine's sort of evolved over a few years from a standard sort of, I'll say standard garden, but to a sort of tropical style garden, and you know, you pick plants up along the way. If you're starting from scratch and you've got a specific layout you want, that's fair enough, but I just tend to evolve with it and pull out plants, put in plants as and when. I'm not saying it's particularly well designed, my garden, but it is evolving all the time, and like I say, I've got no interest in growing 5-10 different species that all look the same. I'd rather just have, you know, 4 or 5 clumps of the same. There's just, for me, there's no point. So yeah, don't beat me up in the comments. That's totally my opinion and my view on the situation, but you know, each their own. I'm not going to say I wouldn't buy, like say, some of the rarer species. If I find them at the right price, I probably would, but I'm not going out my way to spend stupid money on a plant that I can't tell from a standard Fortunae. I'd rather have some different species, more distinguishable and unusual. Right, so that is that. It's feeling quite nice in the sun now. Really warm. Shame about that wind. Right. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.